Okay, so let's get into it. We're talking about the Great Experiment, that really high-stakes gamble between 1985 and 89.
Right, where Mikhail Gorbachev basically tries to save the entire Soviet system from itself.
Exactly. And the paradox we want to unpack is that his whole mission was about stability and acceleration. But the tools he picked, well, they guaranteed a total collapse.
And you have to remember who he was. Gorbachev, he's only 54. He's the first Soviet leader actually born after the 1917 revolution.
He's energetic, has a college degree, and his wife, Rosa, is right there with him, which was totally new.
A completely new look. And his initial idea was, pretty straightforward, Uskurny acceleration.
But the engine wasn't just sputtering. It was completely seized. And the two drugs he uses, Perestroika and Glasnost, they just made everything happen faster.
The decline, you mean, not the recovery.
The decline, absolutely. So let's look at Perestroika first, the economic side of things.
The idea was to fix the central planning system, Gosplan. So in 87, you get the law on state enterprise, which gives factory managers more autonomy.
And then in 88, they even allow small, private, for-profit businesses, cooperatives they called them.
But here's the fatal flaw, the paradox of it all. The state never actually let go of control.
No. They still owned all the raw materials, controlled the distribution, set most of the prices. So managers told, you're autonomous now, but
you can't get any steel or wood or anything. The old supply chains just fell apart.
And the new private businesses were way too small to fill that massive gap. So what happened?
The shortages got worse. I mean, basic things like soap, sugar, meat, they just disappeared from shelves. It created this immediate and huge public backlash.
And nothing shows the failure better than the anti-alcohol campaign in 85.
Oh, that was a disaster. A well-intentioned one, maybe. To boost public health, get people working.
But the state got a huge chunk of its revenue from vodka taxes. So cutting sales meant they stripped billions of rubles from their own budget overnight.
Which just made the whole crisis worse and pushed the entire trade underground to, organized crime.
So the system is now broke. And people are furious about the shortages.
Exactly. And that financial desperation, that public anger, is what really forced Glasnost. Openness.
So if Perestroika took away the state's money, Glasnost just annihilated its legitimacy.
It did. The original intent was just to expose a little bit of corruption, get things moving.
But instead, it opened the floodgates. All this censored history comes pouring out. Historians start publishing the truth about Stalin's terror, the Gulag.
And you have to imagine what that felt like as just a regular person, realizing your entire life, everything you were taught was built on a systematic, state-sponsored lie.
The ideology just lost all moral credibility. Gone.
And the stress test for all this new transparency was Chernobyl, 1986.
Of course. The first instinct of the old system was just cover up. Deny, deny, deny.
Until Swedish scientists detect massive radiation clouds drifting over them, they couldn't hide it anymore.
And that forced admission, it just exposed the rot, the criminal incompetence of the old guard.
It became this huge symbol of the party's lies. It's why when they brought the dissident Andrei Sakharov back from exile, he immediately said the party itself had to go.
So the moral authority is gone, and then comes the final piece, the cost of empire.
Right. Gorbachev's new thinking was really driven by one thing. The arms race had bankrupted the Soviet Union. Period.
So he starts focusing on diplomacy. You get the INF Treaty in 87, which was huge, eliminating a whole class of nuclear weapons.
And crucially, he starts letting go. He pulls the troops from Afghanistan in early 89, and then he announces what gets called the Sinatra Doctrine.
Let them do it my way.
Exactly. He's signaling that the Soviet tanks aren't coming to save the communist regimes in Eastern Europe anymore.
And once that fear was gone, the whole thing just came down like a house of cards.
Poland, the Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia, Hungary, and then the symbol of it all, November 9th, 1989.
The fall of the Berlin Wall. Just an accident, really. The spokesman messes up, says the borders open immediately.
And the guards, with no orders from Moscow, just open the gates.
So if we pull it all together, what's the big takeaway?
I mean, Gorbachev tried to save the engine, but his reforms created a fatal feedback loop. Perestroika broke the economy and bankrupted the state.
Which forced him to use Glasnost.
Right, and Glasnost then destroyed the very moral and political authority he needed to make any reforms work in the first place.
And here's the final thought for you to chew on. When the external empire, Poland, East Germany, collapsed in 1989, it must have been a terrifying moment for Gorbachev. Because if they could just leave, why not the 15 Soviet republics themselves?